Okay, then here another video, and in this video I'm gonna show you how you can create a tapered satin. Uh, so we'll start here, and there's different options with it. So I'll show you a few of the options what are available. So I'm gonna delete everything on the screen here, and we're just gonna go and create a little line, and I guess my line is set to a fill, so I'll give it a stroke and turn off the fill, and let's go to the node select, and we give it a little bit of a curve, and there we go. I should go and zoom in. So if you press the number 3 on the numpad, then it will zoom in to your selection. So now we have a stroke, and now we want to go and taper the ends on it. So how can we go about it? Well, there is path and path effects, and then the window will open over here on the right hand side, and then we go to the path effects, and then there are two options of how we can taper the ends. There is here the power stroke, and there is here the taper stroke. So the taper stroke, then in the node select, so you have to have the node select on, then there are two extra nodes what will show up, and as you can see, I can slide this node, and the point of the satin will change. And that is the same here. I can drag this one in and further out in order to change the taper of the satin. Also, in the settings, there is here a start direction, and there is an end direction. So that is the start of your line segment. You can have there from a center, or you can set it to a clamp. So there you can see it just stays a flat end. If I change it to a left, you will get that the taper is on the left hand side, and if you go to the right, you will get a curve on the right hand side. So there are, in that way, are a few options. Or you can go here back to the center again. So depending on what you want to accomplish. Also, your stroke width, you can set that here also. So if you want to have a stroke width of 3, then enter it. So I'll just go back to a 2. That seems to fit a little more in the whole shape. Then also there is a different joint type. I don't know exactly what that all does, and I haven't been able to really see any difference on when I'm changing that setting, so I don't know exactly on how that affects the design. The end smoothing, so there you can change also the as you can see, the node stays here in place, but you can change here the value, and you can change the end tip. Also the start smoothing, so that would be the start section of your line segment. They're the same thing. You can change that by upping or downing the values. The end offset, that is the placement of the node. So as I'm dragging, oh, I guess I thought that it was the node. Oh yeah, there, now it changed. As you can see, the end offset, that has to do with the node placement. As I'm making a change here, you could see, and this node is jumping. And that is the same with a start offset. That would be your start node over here. So once we are satisfied, then what we will have to do is path, and we will have to object to path, and then it seems to be changing, but to a certain point nothing has really changed. It has only changed the object to a fill to a certain point. So now we're turning the stroke value down, and you can see that it has the strokes now on each side of the object. So then what we can do is we can give it a fill, and we can turn off the stroke, and then what we do is we use the same with the fill to satin. So now I have to make sure I'm using the escape button first for a second, make sure that I'm exiting everything, and then I will go and select my stroke, and I'll set a fill to none. Then I go to my pencil tool, and then what I will do is make sure I'm putting one rung here really close to the end, and then use my shift key, create a few more, and make the last one really close to the end too. That way you will get that the rails are gonna be all the way from the outside all the way to the tip. And then I do the space bar, selecting my rungs, then hold down the shift key, grab my fill tool, or select my fill object, and then we go back to the gallery and go to the fill to satin and click on the run, and we hit apply. Okay, please select the fill object and rungs. Okay, then we'll go and close this one, and we close that one. For some reason something is not cooperating, so we may have to go here, path, object to path once more, making sure that that got converted to a path, and we'll try it again. And we go apply. This is strange. Close, close, close. What is going on? Let's check this. That is a stroke. Make sure, yeah, that is a stroke, and that is, and it's got no path effect. So path, object to path, and it has the fill. This is a kind of strange why it is not doing what it is supposed to be doing, but let's go and give it another try. And fill to satin, run. That should all be okay, and we hit apply. and it says select the fill object. And I have a fill object. Close, close, close. Let's go to our, oh, now I know. Okay, the reason why it is not working, because I was having it in the stitch, like when I opened up the screen, I was having a stitch plan. And what happens with ink stitch, if we're having a stitch plan and if we are not cautious about what we are doing or in what layer we are working, a stitch plan that has a command on it, and that is ignore the layer. Do not stitch any objects in this layer. So if we are deleting this command, now I should be able to get it accomplished. Or I can go and take them out of the stitch plan layer and put them in layer 1. But this should work now fine. So the fill to satin, hit run, and we go and apply. And there you can see, there we have our curved satin. Then I'm going to continue talking a little bit about a satin, what you can do too yet. Some people, they just do not like the rungs, so we can go here, path, and simplify, and sometimes we can hit the simplify a few times to get it really nice, or with as little nodes as possible. Now I can go and, if I so desire, delete my rungs. So now what is happening, Inkstitch is gonna go and look at the nodes. So with holding the Control and Alt, we can delete nodes, and holding down only the Control. Oh, that was not supposed to. Undo. I can, so then what I do is I will add a node right across from another node, and I will Control Alt will delete the other node. Here I will create a node right across from this one, and with a Control Alt delete the other nodes, and I will double click to create another node there. Control Alt delete that node, and then create another node across from this one, and then with Control Alt delete that one. And now I should have a satin stitch without any rungs, and then we can go extension Inkstitch params, and there you can see we have a full satin stitch. And you can see the stitch directions, that all looks good, so everything looks fine. But what I don't like with a tapered satin, because if you can see in the Inkstitch in the params, it starts stitching here right in the corner, so you are gonna get your lock stitches right in the corner, and you're gonna have your locks or your tie-in stitches right in the corner here, and your tie-out stitches right in the corner there. So then what you're gonna get is the density is fairly high, and a chance that you are gonna get bird nests in these corners. So what I like to do with a tapered satin, I like to set the commands on a satin, and so we go extension, ink stitch commands, attach command to selected object, and then we go outer out start position and outer out end position. Sometimes I will only use the one position, depending if I have more satins connecting to it. Then maybe I will only use for the start, or I will only use it for the end, but I'll go and apply both of them on this one. Then hit apply, and there we can see our start, and we can see our stop. Now I can select my start, and I can place it in the center. And what will happen is the position where it is gonna start, it recognizes now the center of this object, and since we have a center run and an edge run, it should grab directly on the center run. So there are different ways that Inkstitch may stitch this out. Instead of a double path on the center run, it may now only run a single run on the center run. And then the end position, I will put that in a different location than where my start is. So that way my tie in and my tie out stitches, they will end up in different locations, and they will get covered up better, and the visibility of them is not gonna be as visible than if they were at the end. So then what I will do is select my satin, and then we go extension, ink stitch, tool satin, outer out satin column, and then we go hit apply, and then we close. So now we can see ink stitch, because this is the last object or the only object. So with the settings what I had selected, it also automatically applied a trim to it. And as you can see, here we have now a running stitch, and we have a running stitch over here. So let's go and play this one in the simulator, because if we go to the params, then our undersewing or our running stitches will not be showing. Then it will either only be the stroke or only the satin stitch. So then we can go extension, ink stitch, visualize, and we go to the simulator, and may have to slow it down, but I'll drag. So now you can see that the satin is stitching from that end, and now it's, as you can see, it takes a little bit figuring on exactly how many stitches it's putting down. Is it now a triple stitch, or is that a... Yeah, I guess that is now a triple stitch what it put down. So it did a running stitch, and then the center run, then it did the edge run, and then it does the satin. And that would be the same here, I presume. So that is the running stitch. And yeah, that also be a triple stitch. So there is some little minor things what a person could make adjustments, but it is not necessary. This way you get that the tie-ins are gonna be right in the over here. Let me scroll back a little further so that we clearing off. So that is the running stitch where it starts. That would be what we're seeing now on the screen. That would be the tie-in stitches. And then it starts with the running stitch and the edge run, satin, running stitch, center run, edge run, and a satin stitch, and finishes up right in the center. So that is how I would go about creating my tapered satin and not having the tie-ins and tie-outs at the end. Okay, let me see, anything else? No, I think that covers. Oh yeah, I was gonna go and show the other option with the path effect too yet. So there is one more option. So I'm going here again, make a stroke. This stroke has a stroke and a fill. Always check here in your bottom left corner. So I want to turn off the fill. And now I have my stroke again. Set my stroke to, well, that's close to the 2 millimeters. So let's go to the 2. And now I will go to my path effects again. And now we'll go to the power stroke. And now we go and hit the node select tool. And there you can see I'm getting here 3 extra nodes on the side. Let me go and make it a little bigger, then it's a little easier, more visible. Here I can set different settings also. The start cap, you can end that as a square, or you can at 0 width, or you can have it rounded, or you can have a peak. So there are different options available also. Then the miter limit, that has to do with the ends, I guess. But anyway, with this one, now we have 3 nodes over here. So now we can go and we can change the width of each node, and we can drag all these nodes, but if we so desire, we can also click a node. So now I have one node selected, then hold down the control key, and now there is an extra node has been created there, and I can drag that node over. Same here, I can first select it, hold down the control key, and click it again, and then I can drag an extra node. So this way we can create many things. We can add more nodes to it, and we can go and drag all of these nodes into a desired position, and we can change the end cap, the start cap. So the start cap, let's make that one 0 width. So if you need to extend it, then extend it, and we can change go really narrow. So that way you can really play around with your satin, creating many different options in curved and tapered satins. And then to convert this one to the satin again, then the same thing, path, object to path, and here we can see, here we get right away a fill on the inside. So I don't know why with the other option we did not get a fill on the inside. But now we can go right away to our pen tool or pencil tool, create our rungs, and the strokes are fairly wide. That is due to the fact that were the stroke width I was using before, and it will depend on some of the settings we have set in the preference window of Inkscape. So there are many options on how you can customize on how your tools behave. But here we can go back now to the fill to satin, and we go run, hit apply, and then close, and there again, then we can go all around it through the params for a moment, and then we can see that we have a satin column with multiple curves without having to draw a line, only by dragging a few nodes. Okay, thanks for watching and have fun digitizing and keep creating.